So, zip of beer and then we go. Oh, great, we have that on the record.
You can cut it up and put it at the end.
Oh, maybe at the beginning.
Inside at last.
No, just cut it out.
Welcome, fellow Teffers, to Inside at Last, the one and only Thief dedicated podcast. My name is Alex, and as always, I'm followed by my two shadows that I can't get rid of, Psychosis and Nex. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, are you feeling good?
Yeah, I'm ready for this discussion.
Yeah, I think there will be one. But before we get started with the real episode today, I have a really important announcement to make because yesterday I released my first level as an author, which might surprise you guys. But
It is surprising.
yeah, because yesterday I started playing Super Mario Maker 2, and yeah, my first level online. So I really know how to create missions now, and I'm totally expert on that. So if you have any questions about creating stuff, just ask me, and you're good.
Did you say
Congrats,
Super Mario?
man.
Huh?
What?
Did you say Super Mario?
Super Mario Maker 2 for the
Oh.
Switch. Yeah, yesterday I bought it, and yeah, I released my first mission, and now I know how it is. I already got one leg.
Nice.
Yeah, I know.
Thief mission coming up.
Yeah, I think that's you know now it's like not so hard to go there to Dromat and start creating something like that.
Are you thinking about it?
No, actually not. You know, I like to talk, but I think I like to criticize others, but no, I never have an idea for like a story, or maybe everything. You know, when I played missions that are already better, and they all are better than mine would have been. You know, I would never be happy with it. But I think next you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. It's a problem.
But you have to release your mission because it looks amazing. We have seen it. Oh no, Psychosis, I didn't send you the video, right?
No, I haven't seen it yet.
But yeah, we don't tell Next that I recorded this and show you.
We'll see.
So, but back to the basics. Since it was your idea to talk about this, what's the topic of this fan mission episode?
Today's fan mission episode will be basically on Endless Rain by Skacky.
Yeah.
Endless Rain, right? By Skacky. Disclaimer, because I just want to get it out. I'm not such a big fan of the mission.
But don't worry, guys.
But we agreed that when we started this podcast, like if we have something to criticize, we agreed that if someone puts out a mission, or as we release the podcast, you always have to be open for like critique. But of course, it has to be in a respectful, polite way, and that's what we will be doing, or basically me. But yeah, I have some things I'm not so happy with it, or some interpretation. But we will get to this. So just as a disclaimer that everyone knows, and we will spoil. So if you haven't played this, stop, play the mission, come back, and agree with me. So. So, what's the premise of this mission? Please, Next, you are the inside at Leicester. What's the premise?
Well, the premise here is that we need to infiltrate Monsegur. Hope I'm spelling this correctly. Monsegur's mansion, where we have to steal his opal and find information about his associates and enemies. And I'm not sure about the lower difficulties, but on expert you also have to find Felton Zuby and a certain pagan relic, and there's a loot objective. So in that regard, it's pretty straightforward. There's no opening of new quests. There is one that you can there is one that is optional, but yeah, it's quite straightforward, not too complicated, and quite a nice mission actually.
Yeah.
Fun fact: it's been raining all week here in Slovenia, which made
Yeah.
it just perfect for this
Endlessly.
mission. Yeah.
Okay, great or not so great, I don't know. But so this is I would call it a city mission, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah, it's a quintessential Skacky like Milan type mission where you just get plopped down into a city district and you're just let loose. That's
Good point,
basically
because
it.
this reminded me a lot of Melon's mission.
Yes.
The atmosphere, the layout, maybe the size, but I don't mean the size of the mission, but just the size of the buildings and the streets.
Very tall. Yeah.
It's a place of giants.
Yeah, and when you were considering the mission to talk about Psychosis, I was mistaking it for another one where I can't remember the name. But maybe what way Melan's mission? What is it?
Milan has made a couple missions like Bad Depths. He's
Right.
made Disorientation,
Yeah,
which is often regarded as like the best fan mission ever.
Disorientation.
Yes.
Bad Debts was great, I think. But yeah, I mistook it for one
Both
of
of
those. I'm
those,
pretty
yeah.
sure, because
Yeah.
the look is pretty similar. And then I was totally happy to play it. And of course, I have to admit, like with two things, I was expecting this mission I was thinking of, and of course, you said this is like for you one of the best missions you ever played, right?
Yes.
And then of course I was totally hyped, and then I was a bit. I don't want to say disappointed, but it wasn't that great as I thought. And of course, I can put it to a level like, okay, don't look at my expectations, just take the mission for what it is. But still, it has some cracks, as you said earlier before we recorded. But yeah, so please, let's go. What do you have to do? Like, what is really special about this mission? What is like the thing in this?
To me, it's that essentially there are no dead ends. There are two, if I remember off the top of my head, and they're both like after a pretty lengthy like apartment building, scrounging around. So it kind of feels like a reward at the end of finding like a secret little hatch that you can open. But the freedom of movement is, I think this is when Skacky really came into his own, because I think before this he released Shadow Politics and Between These Dark Walls.
Yeah, which Between These Dark Walls is like my comparison mission to that, because I played this to see like if there are similarities or what's different, and yeah.
Yeah, he definitely keeps like a similar theme or build style between each mission, but I think by like Endless Rain he actually like pretty honed in on those skills, and the whole mission is connected. Like there's a building, you enter in one building and you can exit out like another building on the other side of the map just by keep going forward and jumping between open windows and scaling the ledges on the buildings and stuff. And to me, that's like the best part of the mission is I like to be able to go wherever I want to go, however I want to go. And
Actually, and there's the problem I have.
Really?
Yeah, because basically it sounds great when you just have it on paper. Like, yeah, you can go wherever you want, and there are many ways, and like it sounds like a prototype city mission, you know. But I feel like everything is totally streamlined. You know, I didn't feel like I have real freedom in this, because like you always see that one way that is possible, and that is something I have a problem with, because like there are other great city missions, and I would almost say like I think city missions is one of the biggest theme in the FM area, because I think most people love it, and I think there's like some achievement to create something good at this. But like I go somewhere, I'm on the roof, and then I see, oh, there's a balcony, and I look to the right, and there are like 3 statues at the wall, and this is the way I can go. And then I go through the department, and there's like a little a hole to open, then I go through, there's a long tunnel, and it goes down, down, down. But there's just one straight way until I come out at another point, and this felt not really organic to me. And if I compare this to Between These Dark Walls, there he did it way better, in my opinion. But Endless Rain feels a bit like uninspired. It just feels like things are there to be there for you to go.
That's interesting, because I actually played Between These Dark Walls quite a long time ago now. I didn't really play it now, but I felt the opposite way. I felt that in that mission, it was more streamlined. Whereas in Endless Rain, a couple of times where I tried to find the best route, I found myself backtracking a lot and thinking a lot, because it was slightly overwhelming where all I could go and what all I could do. Because just like, the first area where you're in, I think there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 exits where you would go into a next one, and it's like, okay, but then
But it doesn't feel streamlined, It's like, it doesn't feel like, okay, everything is just there to be there for you as the player. It feels like, okay, this is a city, and of course I can go different ways, and of course I have to do maybe some backtracking, or if I'm lucky, I go another way, and then I will end up at the point I just left behind to go the other way, but then I come back there. And in Endless Rain, it didn't feel like that. It was just like really a playground for Garrett, but not really fun. And in Between These Dark Walls, there it was like more challenging. He had more playing with the movement. Like there were little challenges, like roping up there and then climb this and this and this. But in Endless Rain, it's just like I see where I have to go, and there is basically no other way. Okay, maybe there's a door I can go, there's another route, but to get to one specific place, it's just that one way, or maybe two from the other side is another way, but it's just that one direction.
Maybe it's the perspective here, because the mission is so large, as we talked. The scale is so big that it kind of, and maybe it's how you feel, because that little let's say corner that you would have to go past is so far away that it seems like the route takes a long while, and it takes a while until you have another choice of whether you want to go path A or path B.
That's another thing, but we will come to that. But when it splits up, like you have to decide, do I go left, do I go right? Then it's like two streamlined different parts, in my opinion. I think they don't really meet at a certain point,
I see what you're saying, sort of. It's like, yeah, there's a freedom of movement, but it's kind of like a straight line in this route that he wants you to go through.
Exactly.
And at the end of it, you do kind of circle around back to like where you started, I believe, or at least to another part of the map. And then from there, you could choose maybe to go this way or that way. But yeah, I see what you're saying. It's, the ledges are kind of there, like obviously for a reason, and you see them, and you're like,
if
yes.
there's wooden fence, if there's wood, then it is there to rope up. You see that, and it's not like a challenge. Not in 2014, I think it was released. That wasn't the standard anymore, in my opinion. But still, I know that he can, because in Between These Dark Walls, he could. It was done amazingly. I loved it.
Have you played his most recent mission, the sound of a Burrick in a room?
I have played it, but not recently.
Yeah,
I think played too many to remember all of them.
I think that is his like magnum opus right there. I think that was probably the best mission he's made of his bunch, and he really honed the skills.
But I played Between These Dark Walls was released earlier, so I played this on purpose to have a look, like, was it worse or better? And in my opinion, it was better. Like if I would have guessed, I would have said that Endless Rain was released before Between These Dark Walls, because it felt for me like this is the prototype mission for Between These Dark Walls. But yeah, it's still good. What I have to say, like this is the other thing of the way he chose to design the mission, with those really straight streamlining is the right word, right? I'm sometimes have to ask, but isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's a good
That would be
So-
the correct word. Yeah.
So the streamline thing adds another joy, and that is something I really liked. Besides the things I didn't like, that it really feels like, like parkouring. Like you just go straight, and first you go high up on the roofs, and then you jump over the roofs and rope up there, and suddenly you go way down into the sewers or something, and then it goes on. Then you cross this room, and suddenly you are like up somewhere totally else, and it's just a straight route, and that is actually kind of fun.
Yeah. The one thing that he always does well in all of his missions is the actual, to me at least, the movement and how you get around the objectives and into the buildings and all that is always at least fun. He always knows how to design at least a good challenge to me.
It's thought put into, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and that was it.
Yeah, well, of course we don't have to agree on this one.
No, we don't have, of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I found it in a lot of ways, like in DRK's mission, the Roxburgh series, which is one of my all-time favorite series. Like I found like those missions are special. They bring a lot of special, but some parts are like. There would only be one entrance to a certain place, and then you had to do this. Like in Endless Rain here, you had, like you said, 2 places where there was only one entrance, but all other places were accessible by 2 routes. Even Monsigur's bedroom, and I really like that, because I find so many missions that have this one way of entering, and it's like no freedom at all.
Yeah.
That it just I don't know. I guess I still feel like the feeling that you get that there's this streamlined path is an illusion that the size brings to it. I just because, like, when you're on the rooftops and you're on a certain path, everything is so far away from you, but you still feel like you see different positions, like different locations that you could be, and the route that you're on only has go forward, go backwards. I don't know, but it does, it does feel in certain cases that there could be more, but we should say that we're nitpicking here.
But that's our job. It's inside and
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
So.
I mean, so many missions, so many missions have their progression graph and their movement paths and their ways. So so much more linear. That it's I don't know. This one seems like,
But
he did a good job at this. Like, let's compare it to Seven Sisters. I mean, Seven Sisters.
Stop. So wait. Since you were mentioning Rochspoor, this is a totally different take on a mission, because Roxburgh, whatever you want to call it, is totally story driven, and
Right.
I think that's the other thing. Like, what you have to do in both, like Between These Dark Walls and Endless Rain, is like just basic stuff. Like, it's not very interesting.
Right. That's probably the one like fault with some of his missions, is the story is kind of it's kind of there as a means just to justify why you're there, but not really enough to drive you to want to figure out more, I guess.
And I think that's like, because I think he concentrates in his city missions really hard on the movement thing.
Yeah.
I think that's okay, because like when we take the comparison to Roxburgh, I think there it's important in what order you visit places. Because the arcade wants to show you a specific story that builds up, that has like the curve, and so I think you have to do it like this in most cases. Like you can enter this through this door and nothing else, or maybe you have two things, but basically they are accessible at the same time. So I think this makes sense, because otherwise it would be totally hard. And for the way Skacky did it with his missions, I think this totally is okay with like have a basic story and just little side notes. But even those are not the best, in my opinion. They don't have to be, but I never feel very invested into the whole thing. I never cared for what is going on in this part of the city. There was no real mystery to it.
I don't know. Like there are basic missions, and there's missions like this where you could say that they're a little bit basic. There's nothing special about it. What you asked before about what makes this mission great, and what I think makes this mission great is like you would estimate how good a certain team is. Like, how they say that the team is as good as the worst of its part.
Yeah, or the chain, the weakest part of a chain.
Yeah. And I feel this is what Skacky does great. I'd never felt disappointed in this mission to agree. Like all the parts where maybe there weren't, one specifically wasn't as good as in some other missions, but none of them was so bad that it discouraged me. Like that happened in Roxburgh. I don't want to talk bad about DRK.
No, but it's a good comparison.
Yeah,
I think.
And I felt like it had simple stuff, but it did those things right. I don't think this was a mission that was in development for 3 years or something like that, but I think it did a lot of things. I think it did everything okay, and some things very good, right? And so that's what I liked about this one.
But would you marry a woman where that is just okay in all the parts? Like, yeah, the sex is okay, she looks okay, her personality is okay. Would what I mean? Is okay?
I guess it
Yeah,
depends.
I think so.
I guess
Okay.
it depends on what you value more, right?
Of
Like
course.
me, I look at a video game as a game that I interact with. So to me, like the gameplay, the movement and stuff is a lot more important. And if the story or the atmosphere kind of like lacks in a thief mission, I actually don't care if it's kind of there. Yeah.
I was thinking that because you told me you loved this mission, and I was totally thinking that, like, okay, I think we are from totally different perspectives.
Yeah.
And I thought like, oh yeah, the speedrunner, of course he wants like jumping around and
Right.
move, and that is important for him. I can see that. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why I love this mission. Yeah. Sorry.
For me, if there's no atmosphere, if the atmosphere is not right, or if something would bother me too much, it would just be like, yeah, I'm done. I'm not even gonna finish the mission.
Right.
And I was at a certain point, because nothing feels from the atmosphere feels really special. I think the movement thing, and even like I was complaining about the feeling of the streamline, but still this has, as I said, there's still something great about it, which maybe couldn't have been achieved in that way if it wouldn't have been in that streamlined way. But like there is basically nothing that really keeps my interest. There's nothing I care about really. Like, yeah, of course, then it's Monsegur, and yeah, he's like doing a little stuff, but it's not, presented to me in a way where I felt really curious about it in the first place, and then suddenly it's presented to me, and then it's like, oh yeah, okay, check mark. Oh, I can leave the level now.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I see. But like just like I said before, it doesn't bring anything special to it. but I like that not all missions have that, because I get bothered sometimes when the mission is like, this has happened and this has happened, and well, now you have to go into this military bank and you have to like, no.
What is a military bank?
I don't know. I just wanted to make up a like, okay, like what's that fort something that America has all its
Fort
gold.
Knox?
Fort Knox, right? You got to go into Fort Knox now, because otherwise, like, no, I'm not going there. I'm gonna go steal from Bafford and I'm gonna go have a drink at the bar. Nothing too dramatic, you know.
This
And
is
this-
totally cool. Yeah. But sorry, go on.
That's what I wanted to say. I like that it's not putting me into a position where I still, right, we have to steal from Lord Monsignor, so it's not just, you know, robbing. It's not too help me out.
Opportunistic.
Opportunistic, yeah.
Thank you. So it has a little bit of that, you know, you have to go into that danger, but it's not too complex. And it's like there's not a lot to care about, but I feel like there's so much mysticism in the mission itself. Like so many parts that kind of spark my imagination, that it's just crazy.
Oh, we have a thing here now. Skacky just wrote me or us that he will be there in 5 minutes. What?
That's nice.
A little break and welcome back, fellow Teffers. A miracle happened. Skacky joined out of nothing. Skacky, hi.
Hey, how are you?
Yeah, we're good, especially since you're here, because this is like a great opportunity to talk on a personal level about Endless Rain and maybe some other missions. Most time I was comparing it to your Between These Dark Walls mission, which I actually liked way more. And yeah, as I said, like I think that the Between These Dark Walls felt a bit more natural, and there were many ways. Like Nex, you said that there are maybe too many ways to go, and you can't decide. What I actually liked. Yeah, but so what is your, like, when you make a city mission like this, what is your like basic thought on it? What is your goal? What do you want to achieve when you make it?
So I try to basically give the player as many options as possible to reach a certain area. So the reason why in Endless Rain you have like the main goal, the objective mission area that is to the north, is so you can go to the west or to the east, and you can go up and you can go down to reach the place. And so you were also talking about Dark Wars. The problem with that mission, in my eyes, is that it's you only go one direction. It's always west. You can't go south. You can't go north to reach the place. It's always west, because the way it's built is that it's like a line, whereas Endless Rain is a circle.
Yeah.
But
I love you for that, for the multiple ways that you give us. Even like we were just talking about that. Even with the main objective, like rarely in your mission, I'm talking about in the rain here. I found that I could always choose. Like I would you want to enter here? There must be another way, and there always was, and I just enjoyed it.
And I totally think the opposite thing. Like in Between These Dark Walls, yeah, maybe the main direction is west, but for me, it felt way more natural, and I didn't feel pushed into this direction because there were so many ways and so many little things to see. And I actually think that the little side stories were a bit more interesting. I said before you joined us, that if I would have known, that I would have said that Endless Rain was released before Between These Dark Walls. But this is just from my personal feeling, you know, because I felt it was a bit more, maybe more my taste. I think it's just a personal thing. But yeah, I think that what you just said, I felt like that this is your main focus. Like the player has like a playground, and he can like do many things, and that's what I actually like. Like it's very, it doesn't get boring. We said that before, that it's like it's like really fast forward, and you always have something to do that needs your attention, and this is a good thing about that. I
Yeah.
actually, but do you think, from a story perspective or from the premise of the mission, do you think that there are, because we are comparing it to Rochspur before, like next you said it, that in Rochspur you mostly have like just one way to enter a room or a house or whatever.
At least for the main objectives, yes.
Yes, and I said this is needed, this is necessary, because this mission is very story driven. So he needs you to access different areas in a certain way, so that the story has a good way to be told.
But I disagree with that, because when we talked about Seven Sisters and we talked how good she was at sectioning the city off, DRK could have done something much like that. There could have been controlled sections where you couldn't enter, but still multiple ways to enter the final chamber, let's say.
I disagree with that, because the basic story and the way it was told was just very simple. Was collect like 6 of these things, and blah 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 blah. So when you compare this, Rochspur has a totally different story. It's like way more story driven. Like everything is like leading you to the story. But
I'd agree with
back to
that.
I want, my question is, like, because since we have Skacky here, do you think that it's, when you want to make a mission your style, you have to get lower on the story, because otherwise it's really hard to follow it?
I don't think it's connected to the story.
You're not Skacky.
It is a bit. So it's a very interesting question. I'm going to try to reply to that. So in level design, you always have to control the experience somewhat. So if your mission or your map is very story driven, you're going to have more control on the player, not necessarily like explicitly. If you like, not for example, like, oh, look at this, there's something happening here or whatever. It's more subtle. And the example of Roxburgh is good. I will take like Roxburgh 2 in particular, which is like sectioned off, as you said. So you have the first area, which is safe part. It's pretty small, but you have some things to do. There's a bit of story there. NPCs are not hostile, so you can soak in the story. And then when you enter the danger zone, which is Kondon, through like a sewer system, it's another part of town, and the story gets deeper there, but it's more implicit in a way. With my missions, I try to stay pretty bare bones in terms of premise, not necessarily plot and story, but premise. So I can just let the player loose and do whatever they can and what they want. So in a sense, my missions, like Endless Rain and the sound of a barrack in a room, but less this one, because you have to get to the manor first. It's your main objective to reach the tombs. But I try to be very hands off. So if you want to go and complete the main story first, you can just do that and then complete the rest. Whereas in missions like Roxburgh 2, you gotta complete the side objectives first, usually, and then tackle the main story because it's on the way. But it's more controlled. I don't know if it makes a lot of sense, but
the benefits your way of creating a mission, I think, is that it's not as exhausting. You guys would agree?
Oh yes,
because
like in terms of like how to structure it, maybe is that what you mean? Like less
no, because in Roxburgh it's like, if I don't find the right thing to make progress, I'm stuck,
right?
And it's exhausting because I remember one thing. There was a key, and it was like under a wooden plate or something from the burned building with a crazy man, and to find this was like really hard. And
I don't. Yeah, go on. Sorry.
And it's cool. but that, and I couldn't find it, and I had to look it up on the forums. But before that, it was stressing me out because I wanted to go on. And in your mission, Skacky, that was a good thing actually, because I never felt like lost.
Yeah, I don't like spending hours and hours looking for stuff. So when I make my missions, I try to make the main objectives at least not require finding any secrets or any super hidden items. So sometimes there's gonna
Key
be
hunt.
switches. Yeah, sometimes
Is
there's
is
gonna be
that the
switches or keys, but they're gonna be told. So you're gonna have
I
to,
just wanted to ask that.
yeah, so you're gonna find maybe like a piece of paper that says, "Oh, don't touch these flowers," for example, in the Endless Rain, because there's a switch there. But
Yes, that was one of my things I wrote down for my personal notes. Like, okay, those things are really obvious mentioned. You really
Yeah.
have to be an idiot not to find it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but the thing is, if you don't do that, you're gonna have like pages and pages in the forums of people asking where to go and what to do.
It's no criticism from my side. I think actually it's as I said, you have to be an idiot not to find it. So it's a nice help. So, and since I can see where your premise is from a creator's perspective, like you want to give the player like a really fun mission to play, where you can where you have a good progression over the whole thing. And this is something actually I can see, like there's a straight line like going forward. There's never like the point where I'm like, oh man, what's next? There's always something to do. And especially on expert, I think, as you mentioned, next, there are many goals to achieve, and so you're always busy with something, and the ways are not too locked to
Yeah.
go there, which is actually
Yeah.
pretty great. Next, do you have a question for Skacky? Because I think you're very curious.
Well, let's start with the easy ones. When you start creating a mission, how do you start? Is the story first? Is the overall layout first? Where do you begin?
So the story comes first. So usually I have an idea in my head. So it's just like a basic premise, maybe an idea of a building or a character. So I just go with it maybe for a week without writing anything down. And when I feel satisfied with this idea, I start writing a document down. So I list the size, I list the enemies we're going to be finding, I list the areas you may go to, you may visit, the overall mood, and of course the story and the briefing text as well. And from that, I start gathering resources, so textures, sounds, models, and objects and stuff. And when I have all of that, I start laying brushes basically, and
Interesting.
it all goes from there.
That's. I mean, I what you did, I did the exact opposite. I started with the architecture first, and I found that while it gave me a lot of ideas for the story, it was the wrong way around, because then I had to correct or fix or discard large parts just because they didn't fit in the story anymore. And once I had the story down, like there's no changes anymore. Well, the story might change over the development, but not as dramatically as from when you don't have it to when you have it.
I don't think there's a perfect way to do things. So
Yeah.
if someone is comfortable with doing the total opposite, so I'm just making the whole mission first, and then I just weave a story around it. That can work. But in my case, I'm more I'm a kind of stream of consciousness guy, but more with like brushes and 3D rather than story. So story needs to be set in stone, and plot and premise before I can start just letting my imagination go wild with the actual building.
I really wonder what other Joomders would do.
I
Because
think we can cover that in the future.
yeah, we should. I feel like this is the common way of doing the story first. I might be. I mean, just because the way it cost me, I feel now that most of them must be doing it this way. At least those that made a couple of missions already.
But that's very interesting, because in the next next episode that will come after this, we already recorded it. As you said, it's Psychosis, right? That they in Thief 2 original, they first built the levels and then created the story, right?
Yes, I think that was actually Skacky that told me that.
Ah,
Might be wrong.
Yeah,
Skacky.
no. Yeah, that's correct. So, yeah, so for Thief 1, they wrote the story first and made the levels, and for Thief 2, they did the opposite. So they had basically all the levels, not necessarily made, but they had the whole plan and just whatever. And once
Maps,
they had
yeah.
that locked, once they had that locked, they started writing the story.
But one question, because you said like you think about the story first. Is it like, because I think when we talk about Endless Rain, I think the main story is pretty basic in my opinion.
It is very basic, yes.
So, but you said you sit there for like a week. Is it like, and as we said at the beginning of this episode, we will spoil, like the thing with the keepers was just, that was, I think, already planned, because like you made the big spider and stuff. I think this is like the most rememberable part of the mission.
Yeah, it is.
Because it's like, yeah, you haven't seen. Did you texture it by yourself?
No, this is a Fire Mage who made it, and he based it on a very old screenshot from before release of Thief 1, which had albino spiders. Yeah,
Actually, I like the color scheme more.
yeah, I like them better than the green.
The black one, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like a bit more. I don't know, a bit scary. The spiders are not scary
It's definitely
anymore.
more intimidating.
Yeah, right. And I think back in the days, in the original, this would have worked way better. But so you plan everything of this before, and then you start building. But when you start creating the story, and or let's say like the little different plots, I think it is. Do you already have like the map, the in your mind, like where to put what? Is there like your imagination like exploding and everything is already set, or do you go like, okay, now I have this and now I start building something and then I see where it goes?
Yeah, okay, so I have a bit of both actually. So for the main locations, I have them in my head. So I want this place to be south because it's close to a starting point, but I want this other place to be north because it's farther away and it's going to be harder to get to, and there's going to be maybe more resistance. And then I link these places in logical ways. So there's no overlong backtracking, for example. So all the ways are interesting. So I don't draw a map beforehand. It's just I just have the basic ideas, and I just usually go for that. So if I have like maybe like a manor, I detail that manor in the document, but I don't write down the layout. I just okay. So this is gonna be like this is gonna have buffer textures. It's gonna look like this. There's gonna be this many guards in it. It's gonna be this guarded. There's gonna be this much loot, maybe. I don't know, not sure. And that's pretty much it. But otherwise, I don't write like the floor plan down or anything like that.
Well, that's interesting, because I can imagine, like, because you're the first author who we are interviewing or talking to. I can imagine like others are totally different on that.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure they are.
but that's does it feel easier for you, like doing it that way?
I don't know. It's just my experience, really. I find it more efficient.
Okay, because you don't know that, but I told at the end, at the beginning, like I'm a creator now too. Since I have Mario Maker 2 now, and so I know what you're talking about. And because I always go like, where's the goal and where to put the first Goomba, and that's the thing. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Yeah. Psycho, since you're really you're responsible that Skacky finally made it. Thanks for that again. You have a question to Skacky, or do you know everything already?
No. I always believe that you're always your own best critic or worst critic, whatever you want to view it as. And you know, what are your biggest flaws? Let's just say in Endless Rain, in your opinion, that had helped you maybe make your next mission, which I believe would be
It's a
Sound of a Burrick.
yes. Well, not chronologically, but the next release is that.
Yeah,
After Endless Rain, I
yeah, so
started working on the Black Parade. So yeah, but this is not released.
yeah, yeah. So
So
what would you say like you learned from Endless Rain?
many things.
Right.
Endless Rain, I do like Endless Rain quite a bit, but it is a deeply flawed missions in many ways.
Right. Okay.
My biggest problem really is that I didn't really know the limits of the engine. So I was always, I shouldn't be extending this because I don't know if I can do this next or not. So I had no ideas about like the cell count when I was making Endless Rain because I was under the illusion that New Dock allowed me to go just nuts. So I could do anything I wanted. And so this explains why some interiors, for example, have many fake doors. Like the biggest flaw really is that Monseigneur Manor is so small. If I had to go back to the Train and update it, I would make it twice as big, maybe, and with a fully explorable interior. So no fake doors. Maybe just the front doors are fake, but that's it. The rest of the manor is completely you can explore it. And another big flaw of the mission is more of it on the technical side of things. So sound works with volumes in Dromed, which are called room brushes, and room brushes have sounds traveling from center to center. So if a sound reaches one center but doesn't reach another center, when you cross the room brushes, the sound will cut off. And this happens a lot in Endless Rain because the room brushes are very big. So I needed to understand how that worked. And for my next missions, I made it so the room brushes are smaller, but there's more of them. So sound travels much more fluidly, and you don't have these cuts, basically.
Interesting.
It's interesting. Sorry, let me just. It's interesting you said the fake door thing because we were actually talking about this earlier off the podcast before we recorded. That the one thing that irked me personally was some of the windows that were fobbable didn't really have quite the obvious tell.
Yes.
And
Yes,
on the replay that I did last night, like I was opening so many windows that I didn't even know were windows that you could open. Like I
yeah,
thought they were just
yeah,
the
I can.
brushes.
Yeah, you're right. I can think of the ballroom window in particular, which is super not obvious because it looks exactly like the others and it's opaque as
Yeah.
well. So this one I should have made like the others, so opened basically just from the get go.
Hmm. Okay. What would you want to say next?
Um, when it comes to the scale of the mission, I don't mean the size of the map or the amount of streets in it, but just the size of the streets, the size of the building. Everything is quite monumental. What's the reason behind that? Is just your personal preference? What guides you there?
Okay, so my biggest pet peeve in games, in particular first-person shooters, is that people don't look up. So I like to force people to look up. So that's why I build so high. And I also like the look. It's just very surreal. It's impossible architecture. You will never see anything like this ever. But in medieval towns, especially in like southern France, where the terrain is pretty uneven, you usually had streets that were very high and overlooked streets that were very low as well. But nothing like what you see in my levels, in particular for the sound of a barrack in a room, which is completely crazy in terms of just street layout with like the starting area, which is the Overlord's Fancy, is I don't know,
But-
maybe 100 meters above the lowest point of the map, which is.
But I have to say that actually, I think that with your style of building city maps, it actually refers more to the city that was presented in
Yes.
cutscenes and everything in the original Thief games. Because I think when I remember, like in Thief 2 or in Thief 1, when you have to follow people through the city never looks as big, as impressive than in the cutscenes or the backgrounds of a map. Like,
Yes,
that
you're
you have
correct.
those with the tall buildings, and then the buildings are not that tall when you are in between them. But your style actually represents this, in my opinion, way better than the original missions did. So like, it's really impressive. No matter if you look from the street up to the roofs or from the roofs down to the street, it's always like, whoa, okay, this is cool. Like, then I really feel like, wow, it must be amazing to be Garrett.
Yes, you're entirely correct. So you're right. Yeah, so the mission you're referring to is Ambush and Trace the Courier, and you're correct. The cityscape is very flat. Like, even the streets themselves, there's little to no elevation differences, unlike Assassins, for example, which is also kind of flat, like in terms of height, but you have all these underpasses and these ramps and stairs that you don't find at all in Ambush and Trace. And there's also an artwork for Thief 2, which has Garrett, like he's crouched on maybe a statue or something, and there's just layers and layers and layers of building behind it. And this is very iconic for me. So this is something I try to capture as well. Just put a ton of layers of buildings.
You did a great job. And when you were some minutes ago, you were talking about like the sound brushes and stuff. What also is, of course, the title says it already, but you did a great job with the rain sounds. And I think those are not from the game, really.
No, they're from the Dot mod.
I remembered some of them actually, I thought. And yeah, now it makes sense. But you did a great job of implementing them. When you come close to a window and stuff, then there's like that rainy sound, and it really adds a lot to the atmosphere. Especially, and that's my biggest criticism and my next question. Why do you use Thief Gold so much? Because I personally don't like Thief Gold, because I think after a while everything looks very repetitive.
No, I understand. So the reason why, well, I have many reasons, but the main reason is just the ease of asset access. I don't have to import anything if I use Thief Gold instead of Thief
okay.
2, for example. So for Thief 2, if you want to have Thief Gold assets, it adds like maybe 50 megabytes or something, which is, it's not a big deal right now with our like internet speeds and stuff, but it's still annoying to cycle through all the things you want to add and stuff. So yeah, that's one of the reasons. And I don't know, I just prefer Thief Gold overall. It's just more like a preference. But the two games are really pretty much alike, with New Dark in particular. So
because I could imagine, because one thing I think the jumping mechanic really adds to your style of the mission, like
yeah,
how
but
you
you
construct
can,
it.
hang on, yeah, sorry. Okay, yeah. So you jump farther in Thief Gold, but you can actually modify this in Thief 2 to have the same speed, same jump distance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can do this as well.
Yeah, you can actually package, like, if you want, as like an author, like you're releasing a mission, you could package what is it, the cam ext or something, and you can like make it so that the jumping is like Thief 1 for Thief 2. Yeah.
But do you have to change it in the main folder, or is it just extracted for the mission?
It's just extracted for the mission.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just for that mission. Yeah, it'll, like, anytime you play this mission, it'll read this cam ext instead.
To every author, never do that when you make a Thief 2 mission, because I think the jumping mechanic is, yes, it feels better from the gameplay perspective, but we were talking about this some days ago. I always feel in Thief 2, Garrett is more in my control. I don't know,
Right.
it's just little things, but yeah, like
They matter.
yeah. You feel, because mostly I play Thief 2 because most missions are released on Thief 2
I think
nowadays.
this might be one of the things that we sort of get accustomed to what we play more. Perhaps a lot of people played more of Thief Gold and they like the movement there better. For me, I played a lot more of Thief 2 than Thief Gold, so the home turf is definitely Thief 2. Probably the same for you, Supreme.
Yeah, basically. So to Skacky, actually, what was your first mission, and how did you come to create missions?
So my first mission was Shadow Politics for Thief Gold, and I just wanted to make a Thief mission one day. So I was like, okay, so people are making these, and they're pretty nice and they're well made, and some of them are super impressive. So the editor must not be that hard to learn. Yeah.
Okay, but you're already experienced in creating games, right?
Yes, I had prior experience. So when I started making levels for Thief, I had I don't know, like 8 or 9 years of personal experience and 3 years of professional experience.
In what games?
I worked on a little game which is called Divine Cybermancy. You may have heard of it.
Yep.
Rings a bell, but what is it about?
It's about some Frenchmen just taking a lot of acid and weed and making a video game, basically. No, just kidding. It's sort of cyberpunk, FPS slash RPG with really good weapons and
Okay.
wonky storyline. Yeah.
Is it more indie, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And the other games you were working on?
I had no other experience professionally. I just worked on that one game, but I'm
Okay.
working on another game at the moment.
I believe you made like a lot of Quake maps
Yes.
as
yeah,
well. Like that's probably where your origin is, right? Maybe.
My modern origin, yes, but before that, I was quite well known in Half-Life circles.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, so the transition to Thief was probably a lot easier for you than maybe
Yeah.
like the lead person.
Yeah, well, the editor is pretty different.
Yeah.
In many ways, but I won't go into because it's gonna take hours to list. But yeah.
Yeah, but it's almost like a programming language, just to get used to the concepts of
Yeah.
a game editor. Yeah.
It's always the same. So yeah, you usually find your way very easily when you already have prior knowledge.
Like I remember when I started working with Unreal Editor like years ago, it was like the first problem I had was like I made the mission, but the player wouldn't start. So then I got to know about the player start node, and it's kind of the same throughout all of the editors. And once you have those things up, it's just finding how to do it in a specific editor. But it's just the same thing, different packaging. Well, there are differences, but yeah, it helps a lot. So when it comes to mission making, which authors would you say inspired you the most to?
Well, the most obvious one is obviously Milan, which is amazing.
I think that one shows. Yeah.
We mentioned
Yeah.
him before
Yeah.
you were joining. That's very interesting.
Yeah, Milan should have been a professional level designer because he's more thorough than me. He has better ideas. He can just make anything happen. It's always great. And other authors, there's Sperry, who made a lot of Thief Gold missions, like the Shadow of Doubt campaign, which is really nice. It's super difficult, and it has like some really weird design decisions, but the whole thing is just a work of art, in my opinion. So yeah, there's these two guys, and there's also like other authors like Pura, who made Calendra's Sister and Legacy.
Yeah, we just made a poll in our mega thread on the forums, and Calendra's Legacy was up for vote, and I think it will win.
Yeah,
It's
well, I
very
mean,
obvious.
it's super classic and extremely well made. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a no-brainer.
When I was making the poll, I was thinking like, I think I know already what mission we will cover in the near future. So, yeah, but very interesting, especially that you named Melon at the first, because as I said, we were comparing some of his missions, or like naming it because it was very comparable to yours. Another thing that would interest me, because before we get back into Endless Rain, what is your, like, when did you start playing Thief? And maybe you can like just give us a short opinion of both games, the original ones, Thief 1 and 2, why you like Thief Gold more and stuff like that.
Okay, so I played Thief late, so maybe it was around 2008 or 2009. I don't know, I'm not exactly sure. So I had heard of the games many times, but I never played them because they were a bitch to install and make run. So, but one day I was like, okay, I just need to play the game and I'm bored, so I'm just gonna grab FIFA Dark Project, and so I just started the game, and I started playing the training mission. I was like, wow, I'm super tall in this game compared to Half-Life. It's really weird, and the movement system is really bizarre. And so just carry on. And when I start playing Batters, I'm like, wow, yeah, this game is crazy, and the sounds are amazing. So I started playing on hard because it was recommended by friends of mine, and I was terrified by the sergeants in Batters in the like in front of a front room, because it was like tiled and the sounds were really like like ominous and worrying. So I spent hours trying to find my way. Okay, I need to move now, just get out of that shadow and stuff. And then I complete the mission and I start playing Cracks Left. And I knew that the game was great, but when I played Cracks Left, I knew it would be my favorite game.
Okay.
Yeah. So the atmosphere, just the whole design of the mission was just out of this world. And to this day, it's my second favorite mission in the game, after Song of the Caverns from Gold.
That's that's interesting, because like the second mission, like I always say that, like I was 11 years old and this was my nemesis. The second mission, Cracks Left, was like, nope.
It has a very steep curve compared to Bathards. Like
Right.
the Hammerites in particular, they're like just alert like crazy, and they will not give you a chance.
No, but the mines with the
Oh,
zombie
mines,
and
yeah.
stuff, that, you have to imagine like an 11-year-old. That was, I was really scared of those. But so why do you think, like as you said, Thief Gold is your favorite? Why?
Okay, so several things. I think the story is simpler in Field Goal, but it's better delivered. So there's no
Yeah, we agree on that.
Yeah, so it's super simple. It's just like a film noir story. So you're a bad guy, you do bad stuff, you encounter someone, he gives you a job, he betrays you, tough luck. And Thief 2 is more it's more of the political side, it's more like espionage and stuff, which is very interesting as well, but I think it loses steam very fast. Like after Precious Cargo, I would say, it loses steam. And I also find the game itself less interesting because it has less variety than Thief Gold, which is, so this mission is humans, this mission is undead, this mission is critters. We're back to humans, but it's not a manor anymore. It's maybe that, or you get the idea. Whereas Thief 2 is, oh, this is a manor, this is like this is gonna be a manor next. There's gonna be these guards, and these guards are pretty much the same. Oh, this is a city, and the enemies are policemen. Okay, so always humans. So
That's the best part about it, actually.
yeah,
I
yeah,
think.
but not to me. I like variety. I like to step out of my comfort zone. So that's why I like the pagan missions. I like the undead missions as well. I usually didn't mind them too much. So the Haunted Cathedral and Return in particular were like, okay, they're pretty good, but yeah. But no, I really like them a lot.
Okay, that's interesting, because I sometimes have the feeling like I'm the only one like seeing things totally differently, because most people say like just what you said. But yeah, that's interesting to have your look on that.
I'm with you, buddy.
Yeah.
But it's fine. Like, I mean,
It's us against the world.
Most of my friends, they prefer Thief 2 or Thief Gold.
One question is, in France, where you live, was it named Dark Project as well as in Germany?
So the title is Dark Project, La Guilde des Voleurs, which translates to Dark Project, the Thieves Guild. But there's no Thieves Guild in the Dark Project. And
Okay.
which is great.
Because in Germany it was called the Dark Project, the Meisterdieb, so it's the Master Thief.
Oh yeah, it's better. It's better.
And I actually today I just sent Nex a photo of my original box from Dark Project 2, and there was an interesting sentence, and I think it was only in Germany, as when my Google research was right, because under it said like, the night is yours, the rest you gotta steal. Which is really a nice slogan for that.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, because I was wondering, I didn't know if it was just in Germany, because we Germans are always so bad at English. But then I thought like, oh wait, France.
Yeah, no,
they are even worse.
Yeah, we are absolutely awful at English. So yeah, that's maybe why.
But your English is really good. So yeah.
Thank you.
But I think in these years today, like 20 years ago, I think it was way different. Germany and France as well. Like today, I think French people are more, can speak English better. And now I totally F up my sentence, of course.
I think they can understand it better, not necessarily speak it.
Yeah, I was once, like some years ago, I was talking to a programmer who was from France, and he said that when he was studying, after a while, he left France because he said that it was always French, and he said
Yes.
that's not the real world for like if you are a programmer. English is the way to go, and he said like, but in his when he was studying, it was still the l'ordinateur and blah 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 blah, and he was like the language thing was really still missed in that.
Yeah.
And
Nowadays, it's all English in programming right now.
so he went to Switzerland where they were talking English, and he could learn that better. And yeah, that's interesting side track. But back to Endless Rain by Skacky, which is you. Who wants to add a question?
I do.
I knew that.
So, my good sir, did you do any investigation of the storylines from Thief 1, Thief 2, or did you just like there was a lot of characters from Thief 2. The Baron is mentioned. Victoria is mentioned. I mean, I felt like, is this just some things you picked up from playing the game, or was there additional research that was put into that?
No, so when I make my missions, I usually have the Thief Wiki opened in another tab, so I can just look at characters and events and stuff. And so I like to reference the Thief canon a lot, because my missions, they usually take place before the game. So you still have like some info, but we don't necessarily. In fact, well, Garrett doesn't know who they are beforehand because he's never met them, and he will meet them in the game itself. But so I use this, but I also have my own canon, which I write just as I go with it. And when I started working with the other guys on the Black Parade, we concentrated our ideas together, and we have design documents that are like maybe 50 pages long, just on the lore and the characters.
Wow.
And who they are, what they do, what their relationship is with this character, or what is this place, where is it located, who are the people who live there, what is their role, what do they do, whatever, just all stuff like this.
Interesting, because there were so many things mentioned that I felt like there had to be something there. Usually, when we speak about missions here, I always make a wiki page for myself. I linked it here in the chat, and when I felt, well, the Endless Rain is not as story driven as some other missions perhaps are, and I felt, okay, I'm not gonna have so many characters I'm gonna have to describe. If you're checking out the wiki, I did a crappy job. There's a lot of characters still left out, but do you still have the lists? I mean, the maps, or was just putting it together what came to your head at the time? I found there were a lot of characters for the mission that's not story driven.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I basically all my plots are in readables that you can find, but they are not um, needed for the mission. So if you want to skip the story, you can just go for it. But if you want to have like an idea of who is who and just what's happening in the world, like with the newspapers and stuff, you can just read that. But that's a good question. Actually, I don't remember if I still have the industry documents. Let me search.
My favorite little storyline was Miss the Lord, or I guess Miss Felton, poisoning
Yeah.
her husband, and like sort of feigning like she was so depressed about it. And and then like later in the mission, you would read the newspaper, which I thought was pretty interesting, that you actually like included a sort of newspaper. And in it, it's like, oh, pagan assassins, it reads like a tabloid,
Yeah,
like,
yeah. It's my idea. The newspaper is like a tabloid.
yeah, it's like, oh, pagan assassins, more on page 42, whatever. And
That's
then
what I like totally too.
Unfortunately, I do not have the Endless Rain document anymore, but I do have the one for the Chalice of Souls.
Oh, that's
But
that's
can I
another
just
mission we'll have to
can I
talk about.
just add one to what you just mentioned? Like first, the newspapers I think were a really nice addition. It gave you like a feeling like what is going on in the city and what might people just be talking about. And then what I really loved, when you start, there are those announcements.
yeah,
And um, there's first it was amazing. On the other hand, it was a bit of a letdown later for me because when you read those, they are really in a great way like people would have written in that time. Like all the way those sentence were put in and constructed and the words you used. And then I thought that, oh yeah, great. I'm wondering if this way of spelling and talking will be continued throughout the mission. And then it wasn't. And I was wondering, was it just like, do you think like it's just an official announcement and that's why they spell it like that? Because it's like from the Baron, or what was it? I can't recall it. Or was it like maybe too exhausting to put every letter, and you have a lot of those, like in that type of spelling?
No, so this is a very interesting question. So I'm no writer, but it's important, in my opinion, to go into a mindset that says, so this person is going to write like this, and this person is going to write like that, and it's not the same exactly. So you can tell that these people have maybe different personalities. So in the case of these announcements, these are official announcements. They're from the office of a burgomaster, so it's like administration really. So it's going to be very formal and pretty detailed, but it's not gonna be addressing anyone in particular. Whereas
Okay.
like a letter, it's gonna be more forthcoming. It's gonna be, you can have character traits in them, but and this really is not as well written, in my opinion, as, for example, The Sound of a Break in a Room, which has very different personalities in the letters. So you have like a person which is very aggressive, and you have the magistrate who is super impatient with someone writing her several times. So she's like very condescending, which is not found in the letter next door, which maybe is a love letter or something. So
Um,
idea.
So, so you put real thought into that. So I can see it from a different point of view now, because maybe it's because I'm not, my mother tongue is not English, or because I thought, sadly, he didn't continue it through the whole thing. But now it makes sense when you say it, like, okay, you can see where a person is coming from or who is it addressed to. And of course, it's like in the real world, like if I write an official email, like to my boss, of course it's written in a different way than I when I send next an audio message.
Yeah. No, yes, you're entirely correct. So, for example, you can have a character writing a letter to someone important, and he's gonna be like very brown nosy, and he's gonna be writing a letter to his friend, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, this guy is such a dick," for example. You see?
Yeah. Big F. But I think you did a great job with the letters, because what I feel sometimes, maybe some people think, or maybe they are good at writing, but they overdo it. I don't want to spend like 13 pages reading about one information.
Yes.
So and you do, even the keeper letters, I think they were like the longest ones, if I'm right, but they were interesting, and they added everything that was written there made sense and was not like too much. And that's always a sweet spot an author can hit on, not for me. And you did a great job on that. And now when I know, like, you put thoughts into the way which person writes how and in what way, it's a great thing. And actually, I have to, I don't want to say apologize, but I have to admit that I maybe totally got things wrong in your missions.
That's fine. But you're correct on the length of readables. So I'm a person who likes to read, but not when I'm playing a game. So if I sit through pages and pages and pages of nonsense with maybe one hint of a mission, like somewhere in it, but it's so thick, it's so dense that you're like, I can't read that, whatever. So I base my readables on just the original games, really. They're always short to the point. So I do that. And when I write something, I always try to find a way to shorten it. So to be even more direct.
And I think then they are more rememberable, because I think in the original missions, of course, they had like professionals doing this, but they were straight to the point. But still, I remember letters till today, like some special things. And yeah, I think that's a good orientation for you, some good inspiration. So, and you nailed that. That was really cool. Yeah, good job. Good job.
Yeah, I felt like we were talking before when you said that you can skip the readables if you want, but if you don't skip the readables, there's a lot of thought put into them, and then the whole another world opens when you start reading them. I mean, some of them
it adds a lot to the lore.
Yeah.
Right?
Some of them get answered, some of them just remain opened up, and then I just like it, like the pagan message that is hidden, I think, in Felton's.
No, it's in Burrows.
Yeah, it's.
It's in Burrows.
It was still in Burrows. Yes.
It's the one which talks about this.
Like if they knew what he was doing, they would hang him. I think. Yeah.
It mentions Findlay getting hanged, and
yeah,
it's just that one was that. I mean, this, of course, there's talk about pagans with the assassination of Lord Felton, and then there's who's the lieutenant?
It's Burrows.
It's Burrows. Okay, yeah. So that's why he's connected to the pagans.
Yeah, he's a member of Lilac Society, which is from Calendra's cistern.
Really?
Yes.
Next,
So
didn't
tell-
you do your homework? Everybody here knew this. No.
You can in our next mission, the Chalice of Souls, which I made with Squad of Freund and Fire Mage, you can enter the house of a guy named Spitzblot who was at the party in Canada's sister as well.
That's amazing. If people add those things, authors like that really adds. I think you breathe the city. I played like I don't know 600 800 fan missions, and I breathe the city, and those little details are amazing if you do that. So yeah, cheers. That's
Indeed.
great. Another thing, just because when we are still back at the writings, you mention a lot of people like from the forums, right? Like not a lot, but there are some people you mentioned. Ain't I right?
What do you mean?
Like I think he means
I
like
think
you
it was-
slip them in.
It
like,
was
as
in
an
between
Easter
these
egg,
dark
sort of.
walls, but
Oh yeah, no,
you
you're
mentioned Downwinder.
No, it's not the user. It's the Downwind Thieves Guild from Thief Gold.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if you did it maybe out of to mention both.
No, it's just the Downwinders themselves.
So and that's why you added Reputo.
Yes,
But
yeah,
you mentioned Roxburgh
yes, I do.
in the same. And one thing that was mentioned between these dark walls, and I think that's very important for next, because a warden was mentioned. And
it was mentioned here too.
in mission 3, which will be released in 2 weeks after this, we were talking about what is a warden. Nex was really wondering. No one of us had the real answer to this. Do you know more about this? What is a warden? Or
I had to like Google it, I think. Yeah.
It's left super ambiguous. In my eyes, a warden is much like a dog in the mafia, So,
but in the game,
yes, so he's really the warden's just like the mafia, really. So he's a public figure. Many know that he's connected to organized crime, but they cannot take him down because he has too much influence.
That's a good way of putting it, actually.
so you got your answer there.
There's also a readable in Endless Rain, which somebody mentions a warden, and there's this description. They're just a bunch of lowlives, but they're powerful and dangerous. So maybe the lowlives part might be a little bit of resentment towards that
Yeah.
warden.
Yeah, absolutely. They don't like them. Well, the thing is, these guys, they're the guy writing this letter is a policeman, and they're pretty much all corrupt because they're on their payroll. But they know that they're no better than just the other guys they catch from rival wardens, really, because they fight each other.
In theme of Thief 2, the whole stone market is corrupted.
Yeah, and in Thief 2, in Framed, you have like the Warden Affairs Division, which is in the reformed City Watch. They're trying hard to catch the wardens and put them in prison, but much of their force is comprised of criminals as well, which is interesting.
Yeah, we had a lot to say, or I should say, we will have a lot to say about Warden Affairs Division in our next episode,
Right.
where we cover the mission Framed, of course.
But I've always loved the criminal underworld angle of Thief, and it was well presented in Thief Gold, and I think it was very clever to focus on it first and then introduce the weirder aspect of the game. And it's something that I felt was really underused in Thief 2, especially considering there's this new City Watch. And
I don't think so.
Oh yeah.
Because I think they did a great job of that in the first game to show you Garrett's world, like the underworld. And as you said before, like Thief 2 is more about politics. And I think the second game, and I think this makes totally sense because of the textures they use, and the whole game looks different. And it resembles more wealthier places. And I think it made sense. Like first you go to the underworld, you show Garrett's world, and now Garrett, from his position, is sneaking into this higher class world, like as a spy or whatever. And I think, if Thief 2 would have been about the same, the same people, the same areas, I think it wouldn't be so great. So I think it actually added a lot. Like you are the thing that doesn't fit into this.
No, it's very interesting. I never thought about it actually. No, but it's very interesting.
So I like that, especially like of course the bank. The mechanists are like the total opposite. Everything is totally polished and light, and of course everything is like against you. And they created things that make your life harder. And that's the opposite of Garrett. Like Garrett is that shady, dark dude who is considered to be the bad guy to the people, but actually he's the good one. And the good guys, like as people see them, like the mechanists, are actually the opposite. They are the bad ones. And I think I love this. Yeah,
No,
but
yeah, this is very interesting.
But as Psychosis said in our we were talking about the speedrun mission, the speedruns in general. He said like when Thief 2 is great, it's really great, and when it's bad, it's really bad. And yeah, that's it. But just a little sidetrack again to I just do things like that. That's the concept. I don't have one.
It's the interesting part.
So the interesting part is like Skacky and Endless Rain and his creations, but I think
the interesting part is everything.
Thief actually
Thief,
is the interesting part. Yeah, that's cool.
So Skacky, it shows in the mission, or at least I think, that when you were making Endless Rain, you were already thinking about Chalice of Souls. Was it that because it was a team effort, or some other? Was it already planned to be for you to be working on it, or there's a mention in Endless Rain? That's what I'm saying.
Yes, Chalice of Souls was always something I wanted to make. I wasn't sure exactly when, because I actually think I mentioned it first in my 48 hours mission, Music of Sibel, in a news text, which is still in the archive, I think, but I put it in the industry as well. And just something different, really. I wanted Chalice to be mostly like an indoor mission, unlike Endless Rain, so just something totally different. But then I got to work with these other two guys, and it grew just super large, much larger than I had anticipated. So that's why it's divided into two missions as well.
I'm very happy that the outside part is there, because that's my favorite part of that series. Let's say.
Yeah, you have Squad offering to thank because he did that like 90% of it, and Fairmage made the sewer as well, but the city itself is made by him.
Right. Lovely mission, either way. What else do I have? So, okay, I have this one. So in Endless Rain, we have, much like in other missions, we have a curfew. So nobody should be on the street level after 11 toll, I think.
Yeah.
And so, of course, you get attracted to the rooftops, but of course, the thieves would be. And I think this is one of the few, if not for me, only mission where I found that there's a lot of mention about the thieves and the thieves' highway. I know the Webster boys go across the roofs to actually get caught. One actually falls down to his death. So it felt like, where should I go? Should I go the obvious way, where all the thieves go, or maybe sneak through the alleyways, which are not crawling with thieves?
Yeah, so the thieves they use the sewers to move around, and then once it's nightfall, they use the rooftops to move. So, well, they use the sewers to hide and the rooftops to move around. So that's why a lot of the rooftops in Endless Rain are very heavily guarded. So you have bowmen and stuff watching like the rooftops because they know that the other guys they use like grappling hooks and rope arrows to move around.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is also why I added like a tip in the shop that tells you that maybe just look at the sewers. I have some good connections.
I mean, there's you allow the player to choose his own path, which I really like in this mission. It's you want to go street level, you can do street level. You want to go swim in the waters, go ahead. You want to go through the rooftops, well, there they are.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to do as well with this mission is I wanted to make a rooftop mission where rope arrows were needed per se. So you can complete maybe like 75% of the mission without grabbing a single rope arrow. But you do need a rope arrow to go to burrows. You cannot access it without one, I think.
Can't you walk across the chain from?
No, you need to.
Oh no, you need a rope arrow to get into that building.
Yeah, you need to go to the tenements, and you need to do that through a window which is above the beam. Yeah.
That was the most annoying part. And it was right at the beginning. You start and you see this big chain.
Yeah.
And of course, as you said, you want people to look up.
It taunts you.
and then there is then to the 90 degrees, there is like that wooden surface under that pipe.
Yeah. I actually, this is another look. Actually, I didn't think of that, and Clotrimus used it to great effect to reach the Thieves Highway very early in the mission.
Yeah, that was that was the only way I saw.
Yeah, this is a total oversight.
Because so because for me it's still I don't know where I should have gotten up because that was the way I saw and I was cursing at you because it's really hard. It looks totally intended so that you can go up there, and it's early in the game, and it seems like it's a highway mission, and I was, you rope up there, and then there's the pipe which is blocking your jump, and then you can, even with new mental, you can barely grab this little statue, and but it's not intended, so that's very interesting.
Well, the two ways you can get access to the highway without ropes are through the watch station, which is heavily guarded. So this is the main way, I'd say, to reach Thieves Highway, and you can also access it through the power station. So you go to the sewers, you ride the elevator up.
What about Lord?
Right.
What about Lord Felton's Manor?
No, you need the rope arrow to get up.
No,
he was talking about no rope arrows.
No, next is correct. You can also access the highway through Felton. Yeah, you're correct.
Okay.
Oh yeah, you're right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see now. No, for me this was the only way. Okay, maybe later I missed it because I was already up on the roofs, but I was so annoyed by this. But now I got an answer.
I really did. The big chains were probably the coolest part of the mission. I thought it really added to especially when you had the things hanging from them. But man, were they annoying to get on without clanging.
Yeah, that's the problem with objects.
Yeah.
Here's a little trick.
And you could tell that the hitbox of the chain actually didn't go down.
Yes.
How it hang. It was a square.
It's a big square, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not the first time it's used. I think,
no,
right?
Disorientation was the first to use them this way, and it's something that I shamelessly lifted from it, really, because I just find it super cool.
But they add a lot to the variety because mostly when you have let's call it little bridges, it's basically it's always the same, like in Thief 2, like in mission 10, where you go over and he says careful.
Yes.
And that's, of course, it made sense with a banner there, but after so many fan missions, I think this is always like a nice addition. And actually, I think since today everybody knows how those things work and that they don't work the way you want them to, but it's okay, you know. I have the feeling that you as well, maybe it's just my interpretation, but I had the feeling that you guys that used that were aware of this, because most times the guards have a point where they are far away, that they don't hear you, that they don't hear that metal sound. You
Yeah.
know,
Actually,
so you have a time window where you can access those chains. Yeah, and you make a sound, but next, tell the trick.
Yeah, here's the trick. So you don't drop directly onto the chain, but you drop on a side of the chain, which
Yeah,
is
And
like
mantle up.
yeah. You can use mantle. If you would go sideways, you could probably mantle up. But do you know when you go when you're standing on the edge of, let's say, some
Yep.
concrete, and you can kind of like edge your way, and then you kind of drop down, but you're like still like on the edge, right? It would be
Yeah.
the easiest way to or the safest way to drop a big distance, because you
Yeah,
would be
but
actually lower.
that doesn't make sound as well, which is nice.
Yeah, that wouldn't make sound, and you can then like go directly onto the chain, and you wouldn't make
But
the sound.
Marbleman, another author who released Cracks in the Glass last year, I think it was last year, he uses another metal sound from T2X, which is much more silent. So it makes a lot less noise. It's still metal, but
is it just for the player, the noise, or do the guards react different to that?
Oh no, they react different to it. It's like the same level as stone, so not the same as metal. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think he did that like to allow for more, like connections using pipes
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah,
between
absolutely. Yes,
buildings.
yeah.
Yeah, he didn't want, like when you jumped or climbed to one, clang, and then everyone gets alerted.
Which is very, like, I think this is something I should use as well.
After so many missions, I think the citizens must be used to this. Like, oh yeah, it's Garrett again.
It's just a big rat.
Yeah, it must have been rats.
Here's the funny thing. We talked in the previous episode. We talked about shipping and receiving, and there's a lot of metal walkways in that mission, and there's constantly guards walking on those walkways. And let's say you're behind the corner where the guards are that are listening, and they couldn't see you. It's not like they turned their head and they saw you. What I'm trying to say is that as soon as you step on the metal walkway, they all like, what is this? What am I hearing? But there's 5 guards walking around there.
It's as if like Garrett has his own sound when he clangs or something. Like,
yeah, because he doesn't have the Nike Airs the guards use.
Yeah,
it's like thief box, whatever.
It's the same if you're like in a very noisy room, so you cannot hear the guard, but he will hear you.
Yeah.
That is something. I think the only stealth game I saw that was Splinter Cell Chaos Theory, because they had those sound meter that showed you the environmental sounds.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
so it showed you like the sound
like how
when you were next to like a turbine or something. The environment sound was louder, and then you could walk faster until you reach that peak. And this was a really great thing. I think I'm pretty sure that during development they considered this.
Yes,
but I'm sure they couldn't implement it because of money and time.
too bad.
Yeah, they were playing with like a sound property where, like, if you were in a room with turbines, for example, you could actually walk on metal, and like the turbines would be louder, so guards wouldn't notice you. But they just couldn't get it to work the way they wanted it.
Yeah, because they were spending so much, like a year on the sound in general. So yeah,
that's why we have room brushes, because they had a lot of work there. So that this was their solution, and it was a little bit more time on mission development, but easier.
Especially city missions. Like, this is a nightmare to room brush.
Oh yeah. But then you have certain, like, we keep talking about Roxburgh today. Roxburgh has like just a couple of room brushes.
Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it works, in that mission it kind of works. There's no problem with it. Oh well, I'm sure we could go. We're gonna replay it eventually. We're gonna replay it in this podcast because it's a cult mission at this point, and
But
we're gonna
take
see
some
how long we
planning
are.
because it's so huge. That's
Oh, yeah.
actually a great thing about the Endless Rain thing, because it was really nicely playable. It was fun.
Definitely.
It was
And
very chill.
yeah, as I
You
said,
know?
like, it's a straight line. Like, you made progress, and there was nothing to keep you up and to hold you down or whatever. Yeah, that's a cool thing to for reviewing things. Like, I think the Roxpur thing, I'm pretty sure we need to make like 3 different episodes.
Oh well, let's talk about Kalendra's Legacy, which is coming up soon. That's gonna be a hard one to put in 2 hours.
Yeah, maybe we do it without you. so it's just 2 hours.
No.
No. Yeah, but yeah, but I think because maybe people would compare it, but I think a comparison in this way is not really fair, because I think missions like Endless Rain, they are cool for when you have like maybe a Sunday afternoon and you don't. That's mostly my scenario. Like, on a weekend, Sunday afternoon, I've done everything, I paid my bills for the month, and now it's just Sunday afternoon before Monday shitty work day, and I just want to play some Thief. And missions like that are always welcome. Like, they're easy to get, and you can finish them like in that afternoon.
Yeah, and if you want to supreme him, even if you want to supreme ghost him, it's not like this is going to be 3 times 8 hours with notes
Yeah.
beside. But it's like, yeah, you can do this 4 hours. You got it. Cool.
Or
but-
tabbing out to TTLG to like check how to do an objective or whatever. Like, it's very straightforward.
Yeah, that's you cheaters again. But now something comes to my mind. You most of the challenges, because I think the Endless Rain is pretty easy. It's not too hard. But what you did is adding a lot of noisy floors with carpets in the middle. But this is a mechanic I'm like, oh, really? Like, in a private home, who wants floors like that? Like, in the night, guards walking up and down, click, 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 with their high heels. And isn't that just for challenging the player?
It absolutely is.
And it, the thing is, the outcome is the same. Like, in my play style, the original play style, I would call it.
What a stretch.
Like, with my blackjack always ready. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I would knock them out anyways, and I do quick saves and quick loads. So it's just like a annoying thing. Like, like the hit and miss, and I have mouse arrows. One question on the chains. Mouse arrows work, or?
Yes.
Yeah. So,
But I'm not sure about Thief Gold. At least in Thief 2, I'm pretty sure of this. If parts, like, when you shoot a moss arrow, it kind of creates the first moss patch, which serves as a sort of a cannon for the other patches, right? So it's going to shoot in a circle around a couple of other these patches, and these react to geometry. So a couple of them will drop down. So if you're ghosting or supreme ghosting, those mosses that fall large distance can make a sound and can alert guards. So be careful. But yes, you can do that.
I didn't know that. That's nice.
I didn't know that.
yeah, but yeah, he's right. that happens. That's what I liked about Thief 3, where you could shoot a moss arrow into the face of a guard.
Oh yeah, this is really fun.
That I never used that because it's not my ghost speedrunning player style, but
Well, what had happened then?
they just start choking really funnily.
yeah, you can it just gives you some time.
Yeah.
Because they are for a couple of seconds they are stuck to the place because I just imagine in real life there comes a dark figure out of the shadow and shoots a plant into your mouth ooh, and it grows. That's really a horror scenario.
Here's where I have the issue with that. Okay, so I shoot a moss arrow at the guard, and it's the moss part that it's making the effect, not the long shaft.
The arrow.
Yeah, you're correct.
He should be bleeding on the floor, not choking. Well,
I think that was where Vegans were created, because it was really important for Garrett that the stick of the arrow was eatable as well and vegan. So I think they could swallow the whole thing, and it just went through their whole body, and they immediately shit it out.
Vegan, you mean?
Vegan, yeah,
Vegan,
whatever. The unhealthy way of living. Yeah.
Stay away from those meat arrows.
Yeah, but just came to my mind that this was in Thief 3. Yeah, it was a shitty mechanic actually for the lore, for the whole thing, as well as the oil flasks.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't make sense. I did.
You know what I miss a certain tool in Thief franchise, which is like a cloth to douse torches. I'm standing next to the torch, but I can't blow on it. I have to use a water arrow. I could use a cloth just to,
Have you ever blown out a torch?
No, but I haven't done that either. I have. I had a cake last year with a lot of torches.
That were candles.
Potato, tomato.
I don't know what you do in Slovenia, but I think you don't need real use real torches. I think you can blow them out. Yeah, I know what you mean.
You could suffocate the torch, right?
But then you could add the question why couldn't you just grab the torch and throw it somewhere? Because torches are movable in general.
I assume it's just engine limitations, maybe,
right?
Or something.
That's what where I was going to. It's the same. Why is that? Why is that? Why is that? And why are you hugging walls to open lock boxes that are not reachable for you next? This is my all-time argument for now.
Well, I met with Morpheus, and he gave me a choice, and I took the red pill. And did I say Morpheus? I meant Psychosis.
Yeah, whatever. So next, I'm pretty sure you have a lot of questions still, right?
I have parallels. I have a lighter one, but we already talked about how much we love your readables, and there's
Wait, Skacky, you were just typing. Anything important to know?
No. It's just my push to talk key is.
Okay.
So
I just
maybe
you said that you need to go to bed soon or something. So
no.
next
It's fine. Oh no. I'm a night owl. I can go. I went to bed at 6. That's night owl.
So
Okay, cool.
Skacky
Sorry
just
to interrupt.
wrote. Skacky just wrote. He's not answering anything without his lawyer. And
There it is. Right.
Yeah. Oh, we're gonna ask anyway. So your readables are very good, and this doesn't happen a lot. People do attempt this, but you cracked me up a couple of times. I found when you went silly, you did it very, very well with the
stupidest Lord thing or what? With the
The
Who
stupid
has the
Lord
stupidest-
contest, yeah.
I can't take credit for this because this is straight out of the Blackadder TV show, like the British series. It's just pretty much verbatim. So not my doing.
Oh, anyway, I watched 3 seasons, I believe, but I don't remember that. Either way, even with I started chuckling when it said butlers of the city meeting.
Yeah.
That was like, yeah, all the butlers meet and then they complain, I suppose.
Yeah, that's what they do.
That was a fun one.
Talking bad.
The one readable that stuck out to me in terms of being funny was the butcher. He was like,
Oh, yeah.
I have to fall back on my meatballs and no one's going to like them. And then like the next paragraph, well, what do you know? Everyone likes them, you know? And I had a question about that because you find the what you want to call it, the locker or whatever, where I assume he's getting the meat from, and you see the dead zombie corpse. So is that the meat he was using for the meatballs? Was the zombie corpse, or was that just there for?
No, he does use zombies.
Oh, nice, cool.
Zomballs, they're
Yeah.
called.
Yeah, because I think he was like, good thing I only know the recipe, and then like you find it in there, and it's like, oh my god.
I think the inspiration to that came from like Thief 2, Mission 2, Shipping and Receiving with the spider, or?
Oh, yeah,
Perhaps.
Yeah, it's unconscious, but my reference was more like Sweeney Todd, the demon barber of Fleet Street.
Sweeney Todd. Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. And the card game.
So I think that this inspiration to your inspiration came from that.
Oh, maybe, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, so you were talking about the card game, right?
Oh yeah, the card game. The card game was fun as well. I love the writing kind of changes in that one, and he's like, this and that, declare this officially.
Yeah.
It was like I was already a local town card game with a bunch of.
I think it was like loser gets tossed over the side or something.
Yeah, they was
Yes.
thrown in the canal, yeah.
Winners shall drink and woo lasses, and losers shall plunge into the canal below and be mocked.
It was that little balcony, right?
Yeah, quite high though.
Yeah. What I liked, no, I'm not really sure. Was it Endless Rain or was it Between These Dark Walls? There was one spot where you can jump, but it's not very obvious. On the what is it called when you have a chimney?
Yeah.
And where it ends, like where the smoke comes out.
The stack.
Yeah, maybe the stack. And
top,
there was a little gas mine on that to grab.
Oh, yeah, it's in this train, yeah.
Yeah, that was like where I was like, finally something that wasn't that obvious.
It's
But
more
then-
an Easter egg or something.
But then the way back was like, no, I can't jump back. So I reloaded and ignored it.
you can just
Jump down.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I want to continue my route there.
Yeah, but it's an Easter egg. Like in Burek, my recently released mission, there's a few of these that you can access. Like some of them are super well hidden, and I don't believe that anyone has found them yet.
I found one. I played the Burek one in when the Thief Gold anniversary contest came out, and I immediately started elevating up and started breaking and going on the edges because I wanted. There were too many guards for my liking, and I found the one where there are fire arrows and there's a writing on the wall.
Yep, it says pay your tributes.
So this is the first time you're hearing about somebody finding that?
No, this one is easy to find.
Sorry, next, but so
Oh, yeah.
Slovenia is burning right now.
No, this one is easy to find. But there's at least 3 more.
That's amazing. So, thanks for listening. Next.
He's back.
No, no, it's his mother.
Next,
You
have to
killed
go
my
to sleep.
Oh god.
No, okay,
Yeah.
go on next. Please, swallow your pride
Yeah.
and go
I
on.
was ahead of myself. That one was very easy. It had a like a normal route to it.
Well, the
But
jump is still tough, but it's easiest to find.
Ah, damn.
I believe
So
you
this is
you
Skacky
pro-
making me play his missions again. Now I'm gonna find everything.
Next, one question, because Downwinder will complain in the forums again that it's too long. How much do you have?
I have.
I don't want to rush you. I'm just interested.
Actually, I have like one question, and I'm pretty much
Oh, really? Okay.
yeah.
Because I'm just looking at the time, and I think
it's been about 2 hours, I think, overall.
yeah. So
Yeah.
it's 4 people. So yeah, sorry, Downwinder, for that. I think you didn't listen that far, but
You'll edit that out.
I'm cool with the time. I think it doesn't matter. It's a podcast
Yeah.
thing. You can
We're just
continue
shooting. We're just shooting
whenever
shit,
you
you
want.
know.
I mean, we had Skacky. What do you
Yeah,
want?
and we have a great guest. So
Yeah. So
that was
Skacky,
disrespectful, right? Sorry.
you can be. That was so it was intentional. Okay.
I didn't fart in real life. Not this
Um,
time.
Not this time. So, Skacky, there's one real complaint that I have here, and I wonder what was the thought behind that. I really love how everything is accessible from two parts, two sides. But right at the start, you have no rope arrow, no
Right.
nothing, and then there's this because my
Guard.
style, yeah, my style is to try to minimize the amount of time I spent in the line of sight of any guard at any time, no matter the distance. Well, the distance matters a little bit, but whatever. And there's this guard at the start, which is hard to it's not that hard to pass, but he's there, and when you pass him, there would be the light lighting you from the back. Well, not really lighting you, but in reality, like it's unpassable if you really wanted to get unnoticed there. So why that guard?
I have no idea. I just don't know. Maybe you wanted the guard to guard the doorway. That's it. I don't think he's there on normal. I think he's only there on hard and expert.
Maybe Supreme would know.
Oh, called out.
Alex,
I'm just thinking. What guard do you mean, actually?
that's the guy where you were talking about roping up at the start.
There's someone walking around. Yeah.
But there's no one standing nearby still.
No, there's just one guard, and since I knock out everyone, so it doesn't matter. But that's what I said. I totally know how it is, because like setting the first Goomba in a Mario level is like the same. Like, where do you
Yeah.
put them? So yeah.
Hmm.
No, there was no one. Actually, I play on normal, just to invite all the players that play on normal, because I have so many experts here in this round.
It's okay, guys. If you play normal, it's okay.
It's there for a reason, you know. Like, who cares? Just play it, you know.
As we said, like, that's the great thing about Thief. There are so many ways to play it, and also there are so many ways to create a mission. Like Skacky, he has like the intention of like a really moving on mission, like where you can move a lot, and the progress is really fast. And then you can also make a mission like really with story and really atmosphere that sucks you into it, and that's amazing. And we always see that again. And you can still in both play both mission styles on your preferred way.
Yeah.
What I like is that you, as far as I get it, your missions, you don't add like, and of course, this totally adds to your preference how you want to have the player making progress, that you don't add like goals on higher levels that just are there for making it harder in an artificial way. Am I right?
Oh, yeah, you mean like ghosting or no knockouts, right?
Yeah, or just knock out like so many guard, or no, don't knock out or whatever.
Yeah.
It's you don't do that. I haven't seen it as far as I remembered. Maybe I'm wrong, but
No,
I have the feeling.
you're correct. The only goals, like the restrictive goals that I had are the ones from the original game. So no killing of innocents, an expert, and no killing of guards and hardened. That's it, really.
Yeah, killing. I think the no killing thing could be like something always added,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
I think
that
even
makes sense,
normal
yeah.
players in general don't kill, because it's making your life worse. You know.
Yeah, but you do have mission offers like Milan, who doesn't even add the non-killing of innocents. Like he will say, no, he says you can kill the guards if you want, not the innocents, but he will not have just don't kill anyone. You know.
Yeah, that and so yeah, that's another great thing, and yeah, you do good. But then there's the other mission. I just wanted to talk about that. And what was the name? It's like with the invisible, the
Oh.
unseen, right?
Yes, again.
That one's vastly different than the rest.
Why? Why? The
It's an
invisible enemy.
it was a quick experiment, really. Just
Yeah, because I felt that, because like the sound mapping was not really well done,
No,
in my
it was
opinion,
pretty
because like
good.
I never knew, like, is he on my level now?
No, you're
or-
correct. It's not good. It's not very well done.
So, do you think that you're more the type for like city playground missions, and not playground in a bad way, like just like
Sandbox.
sandbox, right? Yeah, but it's part of a playground. So
No. So
Theme
yeah,
park.
I go with sandboxes even when I don't make city missions. So in my campaign in the works, Black Parade, we only have one city mission actually, and the rest are all other things. But they're all sandboxy in nature, except one mission which has restrictions early on. So it's one of these missions. It's similar to casing the joint at first. So it's not all the mission, but in that mission, at maybe like the first 20 minutes, you're forbidden from looting, like for other people, and you're also forbidden from stealing anything. But once you pass a certain point, you can do whatever you like, basically.
okay.
But all the other missions are like very sandboxy in nature. So you have this massive complex, and you have all these ways to enter it. Some are better than others. Some are more guarded. Some have more items, but the risk is greater, and it's up to you to just find the one you prefer.
So is there any project in the making at the moment?
I was gonna ask that.
Yeah, no, just that campaign, and
Oh, you mean just the Black Parade?
yeah, just it. Yeah.
Okay.
No, yeah, I may very well make a mission for the Thief 2 anniversary contest as well, but I haven't started. I have a few
Oh, you
ideas.
should.
Yeah, I have a few ideas, but I haven't started, and it's not going to be a city mission if I make one.
Okay.
to
So,
hear.
guys.
Yeah, I would feel remiss, right? Like not asking like how the progress on Black Parade is coming. You know.
Yeah, it's very slow for various reasons. Like I myself, I'm working.
Just real life.
Yeah, it's real life, and I'm working in games as well, so this takes a bit of time. And the other guys are busy with their lives as well. But we do have like some progress made. Like at the moment, we have mission 2, which is progressing very nicely, because it was like a bottleneck for us. We weren't sure exactly what we were going to do with it, and it almost went back to a drawing board, but we found a way to salvage it and to just continue with it, and it's shaping up to be great.
Awesome. Can't wait to
Awesome.
talk about that one on the podcast.
One question: was it that one that already had like a really great trailer?
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
I think he made a trailer.
Yeah.
And it's just this campaign with 10 plus missions.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. But the trailer was pretty amazing and keeping my interest. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're busy with it, and we know there's something coming, and it's not abundant. So
No,
that's
no,
good
it's not.
news.
No, it's gonna take the time it takes, but it's gonna be finished one day. So
But I think that's actually not a bad thing, because people are like Rockspoke 4. They are, oh yeah, when does it come? When does it come? But think of it, like, if it's still in work, like still work in progress, there will be something in some years. You know,
thing
like
is, yeah,
people are always afraid that the community dies and there won't be new fan missions, but there are projects still going on, and as long as they are not abandoned, it's great, something to look forward to.
yes.
And in the meantime, you can listen to the podcast, so great.
But even in the case that the Black Parade ends up to be cancelled or abandoned, like maybe it happens for whatever reason, we still have 4 missions which are finished. So even if
You will
it's,
release them anyway.
yeah, even if it's dead, even if they're going to be released in some fashion. So
I think, like, you made your announcement very early, right?
yeah, pretty early, maybe too early.
Yeah, maybe, but like, I think the biggest, yeah, not fail. Maybe I'm missing a vocabulary there, but the COSAS campaign, which was like announced, and it started with like really huge missions. The first one was pretty amazing. The second one, Next and I agree that we don't like it, but for reasons for our own. And then suddenly it stopped.
Yeah.
It was and this was like, pooh, like, it started, and yes, it got your interest. Like, how would they go on? Because they had amazing ideas. No matter if they worked for me, in my opinion, or the characters, I like them or not. But yeah, so we can say it's going on with your campaign, and we can still be looking forward to it, right?
Yep, absolutely.
That's cool. That's a good information, and I think that is like a positive thought to end this podcast. Or is there anything that needs to be asked?
I don't want to ask a question, but I do want to give a quick shout out to the new fan mission that just got out from Korthak. Like, if
Oh
you guys
yeah, I
played
started
that.
this. I couldn't finish it,
Yeah.
but yeah, it looks really good.
And that's obviously inspired by our guests Skacky and Milan, I would say. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a enjoyable mission if you guys haven't played it.
Yes. So yeah. Maybe we can mention this like in the near future, because I think it has a lot of potential. Did you already finish it, Psycho?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually beta tested it, so
it's
yeah,
an
so
inside
I
job.
already
Of course,
yeah.
you have to promote it.
Of course.
No, but I think I just maybe played like half an hour or something. And yeah, I really want to go on. That's my tomorrow Sunday's afternoon thing.
Yeah.
We'll do. So yeah, cool thing. But anyways, 2 positive thoughts. So there's a great fan mission out there just right now, and there will be a great campaign in the, let's say, future.
Yeah.
Skacky, anything you want to say? Anything you want to mention? Persons, or this is now your spot.
Well, not really, but I would like to thank you guys for having me on the podcast. It was really nice to talk about the mission like in detail. I always planned to have a sort of commentary on the strain and my other missions as well one day, but I never got around to make it. So yeah, this is pretty cool.
So yeah, and we were really happy that you could join us, like in the middle of the thing, and you added a really interesting views on that. And I have to say, like, that was coming to my mind during this, like, missions. It's like a piece of art. And now I feel like since I got your explanations about things now, that I totally made a totally wrong interpretation of the Endless Rain mission. And yeah, I think that was very interesting. So if the episode is released and you will listen to the first part without you, don't be mad with me. I was just like, yeah, on the wrong path. And especially like the first thing I said, like roping up there. I thought it was the intended way, you know. And so I made a mistake from the beginning, but of course I can say it was your fault because you put it there. And next
I
time
didn't
maybe...
notice. No, but
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, no, criticism is all fine. Like, yeah.
No, I said that, like, if you release a mission or as we do a podcast, you have to expect criticism as long as it is presented in a respectful and nice way, and it's not just your mission sucks.
sucks.
No. Well, yeah.
Why? Because it sucks.
No, I do prefer people criticizing my stuff because I can improve this way. So it's always nice when I have like someone saying, okay, so this doesn't really work because this, and maybe you can have a chat, and yeah, it's nice.
But I imagine, like, you know, I'm making music for like 20 years now, and when people are like criticizing a song or something I do, and they don't get it right, like my intention, of course I have to say, yeah, maybe I didn't deliver it in a way they get it or whatever. But for me, it's always like, you didn't get it. It's like, it's right there, you know. And so I can imagine, like, if you release a mission and you have your intentions, and then someone like me comes up like, yeah, like that and that, and but he totally didn't get the whole thing. Maybe it can be like, I don't know, annoying.
No, I do find it pretty interesting because I like having different perspectives. So even if someone that really hates my stuff, and I've seen people hate my stuff like really adamantly. So it's maybe if I don't necessarily like it personally, I can still see where they're coming from and understand like their reasons.
Okay. So tomorrow you will have breakfast, right?
Yeah.
My ex-girlfriend, she's French. So you don't use plates for breakfast, right?
No, I do because I eat toasts and there's a lot of crumbs, so I use plates.
They put it on the bread.
Yeah,
you know,
but you have like when you have like French people, they have like this huge baguette on the table, and everyone just grabs a piece.
Yeah.
And there's no, you know, with my ex-girlfriend, when she had all her friends visiting from France, it was like we were like 15 people or something. Then there was like we had a huge table. And like French people always have like huge eating tables.
Yep.
And then there was always, everything was free. The food was in the middle of the table, and then there was one plate, and everyone knew this is my place. You know?
Yeah. No, it's true. It's exactly how it is.
So I just wanted to keep like a bit culture into this. So thanks for being our guest. It was great, really interesting, and a lot of views you could add. And yeah, it's great. And I think now it's really cool to play your missions again with that mindset. So yeah, Skacky, great job, and we would love to have you as a guest in the future, maybe.
Sure, why not?
maybe for sound of a Burrick or something, you know.
I just was thinking the same. I think
Yeah.
we can add that, like not like in the next weeks, but
Yeah, you know,
maybe
like
this year
couple
or
months.
something.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah, great. Next, are you still there?
Definitely.
Are you
Just
just
making
hacking
sure.
his Facebook profile and editing pictures with your face in it?
No, I just yeah, we're officially friends now. I got into his account and you know, made it how it has to be, how it was meant to be, really.
Okay, cool. So So, Teffers, thanks for listening. This was Inside at Last. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's the longest episode we had so far. And sorry, Downwinder. But it's the way it is. See you guys. See you, Teffers. Bye-bye. See you next time.
See you
Bye-bye,
later.
Skacky.
See ya.
This will make a nice little bonus.
And there's this guard at the start, which is hard. And there's this guard at the start, which is hard. And there's this guard at the start, which is hard. And there's this guard at the start, which is hard. And there's this guard at the start, which is hard.